great privilege to be here with all of you, and I'll just put my slides up just a second, and then we are good to go. So yes, as Tommy introduced, I do have a long history with RFID. So I started working on the topic since 1998, and somehow I guess the industry stuck on me because I've been working now with Ynvisible for a couple of years, and still find myself working a lot with RFID and with great innovative companies like Identiv. So yeah, and even in these 20 years I've been giving quite a few presentations, but this is my first Zoom presentation, and it's kind of an interesting to speak to an empty screen. And normally I start with a joke, and then I was kind of thinking that what if I tell a joke here and no one laughs? But then I remember that I have 3 kids and I tell jokes to them at dinner time and no one laughs. So there's no big difference here. So, but let's skip the joke and go to the topic, because. So at Ynvisible, we are dealing with this question that what are the best and most natural human interfaces around us. We find ourselves dealing with a lot of electronic gadgets, things that make our life easier, but sometimes also more stressful. And we feel that introducing printed electrochromic displays can help with many applications. So I'm here to tell today on how things relate with RFID, and of course Vera already gave a great presentation on one of the applications that we are dealing with. But let's dive a little bit deeper on the topic for the next 15 minutes or so, and then give a few other application examples and summarize it. And hopefully by then I have explained how printed electrochromics can help with various different RFID and smart packaging, smart label applications. So yeah. So as you saw with Identiv's product, we deal with easy to use visual status indicators. We feel that what we have as a printed, flexible, user-friendly, very naturally communicating technology is definitely having some merit almost in any application. And like discussed, we feel that for example, having a blinking LED light in many devices around us is probably something that doesn't communicate too well with us, and that's the part that we wanna change in the world around us. So particularly with this type of RFID and smart label, smart packaging applications, we talk about the visual indicators rather than displays. And the technology that we use to make these things is called electrochromics. And as you see also at the title slide, we do these things with conventional standard printing technologies, predominantly screen printing technologies. In our series of webinars, we had a more of a deep dive technical webinar earlier. That's also accessible through our website and through our YouTube channel. So in order to not go too deep into the electrochromic technology itself, let's just say that we use standard screen printing technologies, And a little bit depending on the need and the use case, we are printing either more or less layers. It's always a layered solution, so we are printing material on top of another material, and thus having a stack that when we lead electric charge into that stack, it changes its reflective properties, and that we can see in the change of a symbol or a change of a color. The technical benefits of this technology are that even if I say that we, particularly in this use case, we don't talk about display technology, but when we talk about kind of a similar electrically driven display technologies, we are by far dealing with the least power consuming technology. So we can very easily have small, flexible, thin products, also because we don't need to have big battery capacity on board. Or in some cases, we can have totally passive devices. Goes well with RFID, so we can even do some level of energy harvesting from RFID, or drive these things with solar cells and these type of other powering technologies. So we are thin, flexible, robust, and because we deal with printing technologies, we can manufacture these indicators usually well combined with other manufacturing steps that would take place, or we can have such a device that it's very easy to integrate that later on in the manufacturing flow with other components, and then that's when we talk hybrid integration. And as everyone kind of fairly easily relates to, printing is a high volume manufacturing technology. So we can manufacture things in high volume, which translates to efficiency. One thing is that we have a couple of different flavors, so we can have a one-time change or things or reversible change in color. So we have an indicator that changes its visual appearance and then goes back to the original state, or something that's permanently changed. Now if we move to the topic of today, which is RFID, it was great to walk down the memory lane with Claire a bit earlier, and talk about the fact that with the field of RFID, we have two dominant technologies, especially when we talk about smart label and packaging applications. So we have the UHF RFID, that is a great technology for automating supply chain and identification of goods in the supply chain, or in retail applications to have a fully automated inventory management solutions. There's only one downside of this technology, which is the fact that it needs the reader infrastructure. So Claire showed a picture of a fixed reader that typically at the dock door, there are also mobile readers. That's kind of the extra piece of hardware you need to talk to the RFID tag. And we also feel that also in my history with RFID, there were some applications where you were able to equip big part of the supply chain with this ecosystem of readers. However, you might have a case where at the very beginning of the supply chain or at the end of the supply chain, you have really high number of potential users of the technology. And then it becomes increasingly prohibitive to equip all those points with RFID reading capabilities. We feel that with the visual indicator technology, it's also possible to combine that with UHF technology and convey some easy messaging to the users in the case that it's not possible or feasible to equip those users with this extra piece of hardware. So we feel that also with UHF RFID, there's a point in deploying printed electrochromics and visual identification indicator technology. The other mainstream RFID technology is exactly what Identiv is using with the temperature logger. It's the NFC technology, and there the good point, the great thing is that every one of us is carrying a reader device in our pocket when we have the smartphone. And thus you don't have this sort of a ecosystem challenge. Almost anyone has a reader in the pocket. For the reason that NFC has been developed originally for access management and payment technology, it requires it enables also a high level of security, and that security also comes with a fairly close proximity distance. So you essentially have to touch a tag with the reader in order to get them connected, and that's the kind of a downside or the thing with NFC. And also in some cases here we feel that visual indicator technology can help. So if you have tens of NFC labels in front of you and one of them wants to tell you a message, it's easy to visually pick the one up and get connected with that tag and then look deeper into the data. So we feel that there's a use case for the visual indicators with both of the mainstream technologies. Let's just say that for years, when dealing with RFID, you had this feeling that the beginning part of the supply chain is easily automated with UHF RFID, and on the other hand, when you want to have the consumers with the NFC phones hooked up with the brand and build consumer engagement, provide additional services and so forth, you basically had two technologies and a gap between. And to some extent, we feel that in some of the use cases where the visual indicator technology works well, we can, even with this simple thing, get the tags actually to bridge the gap a little bit. Of course, as everyone knows, it basically depends on the application and needs to be looked deeper. But we feel that there's definitely a merit in what we do with both of the mainstream RFID technologies. So what it is today that we are doing tags that have all this great electronics inside, but that also visually communicate with us. And Vera showed a great example. We have, on a concept level, created some labels that tell whether the package has been dropped or not, as one example. But there are also many other use cases, and we can have a little bit of a closer look at that, even though time doesn't permit us to go really deep into the applications. So logistics and retail, definitely a great use environment for visual indicators on RFID labels. Sometimes there are another type of the state that we might be interested in, whether a seal has been broken, or how many times has a certain package been opened, or has it been read with an unauthorized reader. Many kind of fairly simple questions that carry a lot of value, and that's what we think that our technology, together with innovative partners working with RFID solutions like Identiv, can really help end users to deal with. To just give a bit of a more breadth in what it is that we are doing, it's actually we're also dealing with a lot of other application areas, and just to highlight one, we're also looking at health and wellness applications. The application that Vera explained, it deals or dives also partly into this world. Time for me to start wrapping it up. Tommy also already at the beginning told that we are the go-to company when dealing with printed electrochromics, printed visual indicators. And we have everything that an end user or a technology partner needs to get started with. We have designers, we have a small scale manufacturing capabilities, and we have high volume scale up environment in our use in Sweden. So basically, just enough said. If you are interested in the technology, we are the company to talk to. Seem to be running out of time, so let's just go quickly to the wrap-up stage. So we feel that we, at our modest part, we want to be part of creating a more user-friendly environment. And as we know, even labels are today getting smarter with more functionality. So our technology definitely relates to smart labels, smart packaging, RFID. And to kind of summarize it, I think, and we think that our sweet spot of applications is not in the applications necessarily where you're just transmitting a radio barcode, but in the applications where the tag does something more. It tells whether a temperature limit has been breached or seal has been broken and so forth. And that's the area we call RFID plus. So it doesn't need to be complicated, but there's a story that these tags tell more than just a simple ID. So I want to end with a smile. Doesn't have anything to do with RFID, but this is one of our all-time favorite applications. So thank you.